The Pac-12 is making a comeback in 2026. Should Utah and Arizona State go back to the Pac or remain in the Big 12? That's what we're going to be discussing on today's Locked On Utes and Locked On Sun Devils crossover.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes and Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If it's your first time tuning into either of our shows, make sure you like and subscribe. Today's crossover episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finance with Monarch Money. Use the code Locked On College, all caps and no spaces, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is J.T. Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined by the host of Locked On Sun Devils, Richie Bradshaw. Richie, the Pac-12 is making a comeback. So the question remains, should some of these corner schools that left to go to the Big 12, should they return to the Pac? Absolutely not. It would be a terrible idea. It would be detrimental to the brand. I know we had some great memories and some not so great memories for both schools during our time in the Pac-12. Obviously, the Big 12 so far has been kinder to ASU than it has to Utah, but just based on these teams, and it's no disrespect to the teams that are there, but it would be, as I mentioned, genuinely, I think, detrimental to your brand and financially. Your university, you're missing out on tons of dollars if you were to leave to go back. I don't see Utah or ASU going back to the Pac-12 probably ever, and at the very least, not anytime soon.
No, I think the only way you'll ever find Arizona State, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, the LA school, I think the only way you ever see that stuff start to culminate back together in the Pac-12 is if you see some significant spike and increase in the money that they're able to drive in, because that was a huge reason that USC pulled the plug on basically the entire conference. Is their revenue share was just not there for them. And unfortunately, that really trickles down at the top from what Larry Scott and George Kliavkoff were not able to do and get accomplished for the conference. But then you also got to remember that not a lot of people stayed up for Pac-12. What was our thing, JT?
After dark.
Hashtag Pac-12 after dark. Exactly. And it was awesome for us. But yeah, it's hard to generate the attention of the country when your games are being played so late. But
East Coast, they did not care on the East Coast. Like, the SEC narrative drives us nuts, but at the same time, like, those games are really late, so the casual fan's not going to tune in, and that is where a lot of the population, especially the college football one, resides.
Yep. And I mean, I don't know if I 100% believe it, because Derrick Henry had a great year, but there's a very good argument that Christian McCaffrey was gypped of the Heisman Trophy that year because he played at Stanford and because Derrick Henry was the face of an Alabama national championship team. But Henry deserved it. It's just, if Christian McCaffrey played at LSU, he's walking away with that award kind of thing. So yeah, there's just been a lot of, we can call it disrespect. I think that's fair to say, that the Pac-12 has accepted over the several years that they were at their peak. And I mean, there's been really good schools and teams. Stanford was running the 2010s for at least the first half of it. Utah in the second half of the 2010s was running the conference. USC was always highs and lows. Oregon was very, very good. Like, USC had good seasons. Arizona State had good seasons. Washington went to a playoff one year. Like, there were good programs in the Pac-12, and programs that were going to national championship appearances and college football playoff appearances. But there just was not enough revenue that was going to that conference, which is why so many people left. So that's the first big thing that you point out, is the money side of it. But the other part, which I'll hand off to you to talk about more, is the competition standpoint has substantially decreased, and that's not good for your brand, especially with an extended college football playoff pool. Like, more teams will get in, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
You said it best when you said there were good teams in the Pac-12. Unfortunately, and I love the Mountain West brands. There are some awesome teams in here. And, for basketball, they have Gonzaga. That is one of the top 10 basketball programs in the country. But as much as basketball still matters, nothing scratches the surface of football. And the football programs in here, yes, Boise State is here. That's something. But there's also a reason Boise State did not get the invite into the Big 12 and is known as a really dang good Group of 5 school. And that's what this is. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, and our old Pac-12 brethren, Oregon State and Washington State. And it sucks, but unfortunately, because the revenue is not the same and the way that NIL works in this game, which is also why, like, you have to stay, regardless of what, and I've enjoyed being a part of the Big 12. I know we always have fun on the squad shows and talk about everything there. And obviously you guys, as we already mentioned, of course, you guys have enjoyed being part of the Big 12. I didn't want the Pac-12 to break up simply because I just didn't want change. Like, I loved college football the way it was, but that's in the past now. Got to look towards the future. There's a lot of exciting things in the Big 12, but if you were to leave this conference, your NIL would take a hit. And you already, Oregon State, Washington State, like any given Saturday, sure. Could they upset one of these teams? Yes. Just based on the teams they're putting out there, largely due to NIL, they can't compete with these Big 12 teams anymore, unfortunately. And they may do very well in the new look Pac-12. We'll see what happens, but try getting into the college football playoff with, you're just not going to get many ranked wins. You want to be the top Group of 5 team. And there's just way too many negative factors that make a reunion really just feel impossible at this moment.
Yeah. And what'll be a really good litmus test this year will be, how does Washington State respond to losing Jake Dickard and to losing John Matera? Because they literally couldn't afford to keep them. And that stinks.
We have their running back. We have their running back now. They had a freshman running back over 700 yards. He came to Utah too. So they lost.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I think they won 9 games last year. Like, that was a really good Washington State program, but you just lost one of the best young coaches in college football. You lost one of the best kept secret quarterbacks in college football. And the roster in general is just going to be very different than what you had last year. And, you know, they don't have that market pull anymore from the Pac-12, which is just a shell of its former self. It's a glorified G5 conference at this point. Like, it's the Mountain West at this point, just with a different brand to it. So that part is just really frustrating and awful for them. But the competition standpoint, what did you mention? You said there's not going to be a lot of ranked wins. You're 100% right, because it's going to be difficult to get the AP voters and the college football playoff voters. Who would you rather have? Do you want to rank a 9-win Mizzou team because of their obsession with Mizzou, or a 10-win Colorado State team? I'm probably going with Mizzou. Should you? No, of course not. But that's just not the way that they like to run things. Is they want those big names in their poll. They do love getting a few small names in there, but if you were to count on how many times James Madison or Liberty or Tulane have been consistently ranked in the top 25 polls at the peak of their programs, it's not nearly what it should be. So now the Pac-12, which is built up of those schools, it's going to be hard to get those ranked wins unless all of a sudden Boise State starts bringing in 5-star recruits every year, or Colorado State is able to get to annual double-digit wins. Like, it's just going to be very difficult to get the rest of the country to buy into smaller schools. Could it happen? Sure, but we're talking about years down the road. Like, we're not going to come into the season and have 4 Pac-12 teams ranked. That's just not going to happen for a very long time. So as a glorified G5 school, that's going to be part of the problem, especially when we talk about getting to the playoff, is, you know, what's your poll? How many ranked wins do you have? You have 1 ranked win, but I mean, you did beat 5 teams that won 8 games. That's tough, but that stuff matters. And it's going to give the advantage to SEC teams and ACC and Big 12 and Big 10. It's just tough. Notre Dame will get.
Oh, keep going, sir. We lost you for a moment. Say it again, Richie.
Sorry. But the programs are going to get in the Power 5 or Power 4 rather, are going to get the benefit of the doubt because they do have a chance for more ranked wins. And like, even Notre Dame will get more credit for having those kind of wins because it's more quality teams that they're playing. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just the way that we're at.
It's a fact, and it sucks what happened with the Pac-12, but it's in the past. You have to move on. You have to move forward. Utah has a great opportunity in front of them in the Big 12. Arizona State has already capitalized on that opportunity in the Big 12. They've capitalized on it so much that Kenny Dillingham, who's a pretty dang good head coach, seems to think they could become a blue blood. Is that possible for a Big 12 team? Obviously, Utah would love to be that too. That's what we're going to discuss in one moment on this Locked On Utes and Locked On Sun Devils crossover. But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes and Locked On Sun Devils is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money, start building your wealth. There's a surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save even more. Also, that all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling up multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Also, that easy collaboration, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all caps, no spaces, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege. All caps, no spaces, for half off your first year. You can check out Monarch Money today. Alrighty, Richie Bradshaw back in here with me to talk about quite the claims that were made by your head coach, sir. And this is the quote from Kenny Dillingham talking about Arizona State potentially becoming a powerhouse. And what he referenced was, this is the quote, you have via Pete Novak. He said, you have Clemson this last cycle from 2010 to 2020. They just showed up. People think they've been around forever. You have Oregon from 2000 to 2010. That hasn't been a team in this era in the 2020s. The lifestyle you have in Arizona, if we create some staff consistency and then we're in a league where we can continually compete to win, they'll have a chance to become one of the top programs in the country. Richie, I do think in the NIL era, if you can get your money up, you can become a blue blood in the future of college football, regardless of the conference you're in. Texas Tech is trying to do that right now. Another school in this conference I'm not going to mention is doing that on basketball. We'll see if they can translate that to football success. But I do think it is possible in the NIL era, even as the SEC and Big Ten continue to separate themselves. I think it's possible to become a perennial powerhouse and genuinely a blue blood in this sport, in this new world. Oh, see, Richie, you're muted, my friend, actually. So I apologize for that one. The last one was on me. This one's on Richie. There we go. Now he's got it. So you got it, my friend.
All right, let's try this again. So yeah, why can't you? I mean, you're looking at a landscape of college football and college athletics period where you basically are buying a team right now. And obviously that's going to get straightened out here very, very soon within the next handful of years. I know that they're coming up with revenue shares and stuff like that. That's going to get figured out. But I mean, for right now, there is that opportunity to purchase these kids, right, wrong, or indifferent, and build up a really good program. Like but it's also about building through your recruiting classes as well. Because like, look at Ohio State this past year. They brought in some big pieces. They brought in Quinshon Judkins. They brought in Will Howard. They brought in Caleb Downs. But, you know, they also recruited that entire defensive line. They recruited their linebacking core. They recruited their offensive line for the most part, their receivers. Like, they did it the way that you should do it, which is building through your recruiting classes, but also understanding like, hey, NIL is your friend, and you can bring in the pieces to put you over the top that way. So look at Arizona State and the trajectory that Kenny Dillingham has them going right now. As of now, ASU has the number 11 ranked recruiting class in the country. It's going to improve because there are several more players and dominoes that have yet to fall that are going to be falling within the next month. It's big news, good times down in Tempe, Arizona. You get that ball rolling. Now you get the NIL dollars to start to roll in. There are deep pockets in Phoenix, Arizona. But the problem that you find with Arizona sports is if you're not good, no one cares. Like, no one's going to go to your games. No one would go to Phoenix Suns basketball games until they started contending for the playoffs every year. Short story, just to really emphasize this point. When I was in college, some of my buddies were getting ready to go to a Suns game. This is 2015. Suns are horrible. They're like, hey, do you want to go to a Suns game? And I'm like, it's not worth the price of the ticket. Like, I'm just not going. I was like, why would you guys go? And they're like, oh, it's a Warriors game. Like, we're going to go watch Steph Curry. That's coming from Suns fans. That's the mindset that you get in out here. Like, that it's not worth seeing this team, but hey, I can see someone else. Like if the Cardinals were bad, like, oh, they're playing the Chiefs, I can watch Patrick Mahomes. That's the kind of mindset that these fans will get into because there's better things to do with your money. So if ASU continues the success and they stack on winning seasons and the recruiting classes get better, the NIL is going to come in. When that NIL comes in, you're going to be able to retain your roster. And we just saw ASU retain over 50 kids from last year's Big 12 championship team to stay on the team. Well, the NIL comes in, that's going to make things even more consistent for you. The big name players are going to come in, and yeah, you turn into the, quote unquote blue blood. I do think blue blood is one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot these days. Mm-hmm. Like a generational player or
can't miss prospect, all that. Yeah.
Can't miss. Exactly. So that is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but with the definition that Kenny Dillingham is providing for it in the sense of being a blue blood for a stretch of 10 years. Yeah, that's entirely within the wheelhouse for Arizona State with the way things are getting started, but it's about maintaining that momentum. So that's possible, but it's just that term blue blood, man. Like, I just can't get behind it.
Agreed. And like you said, if we are talking about, hey, like from this point on, can Arizona State be that? Yeah. When we associate blue blood, which I always think of basketball, I think that's the whole reason it was called blue blood is because you have Duke, Kentucky,
and North Carolina,
these programs that just consistently compete for national championships. That's where, like, going back to what I said, it is possible in the Big 12 and just in general that you can build that now in the NIL era. Is it likely? No, to become a blue blood. That's what I'm saying. Can you contend for national championships year in and year out? Yes. But, and as you mentioned too, Kenny Dillingham's definition was a little different than the article from On3 framed it as well. But like for Utah, is Utah and Arizona State's too, like, are they going to become blue bloods of college football? No, they're not going to be that. But if you say The Athletic just released that story, the top 25 programs of the first 25 years of the 20th century, right? Utah was in the top 25 of that. Like,
and they should be.
Could Arizona State, could Arizona State probably a little better right now, just from NIL purposes, I'd say they're a little more likely to be in even like the top 10 for the next decade. I think there's a chance that could happen for an ASU and a Utah, but it's going to be tough. Any year, Utah, Arizona State, they can compete for the top and we'll have a chance to beat the best programs. But doing that year in and year out, Richie, I mean, we even know just from contending in the Pac-12 and the Big 12 some of these years, like, it's really hard to follow in the footsteps what you did one year to the next, and earning that status as a blue blood, a lot easier said than done.
Yep. And speaking of the Pac-12, what did we love and hate about the Pac-12? The amount of parity that we would face that would cause people across the nation to go, oh, well, USC just lost to Arizona State and Oregon just lost to Utah. There's clearly not a great team in there. Well, we leave the Pac-12. We're like, oh, it's going to be better. We get to the Big 12. It's like, no, it's the same exact thing. ASU picked to finish dead last in the conference, finishes first. Like, that's the kind of the madness that the Big 12 presents. And for me and you, we're used to it. We love it. But
I didn't love it last year. I did not love it last year. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's why these sports are played on a year-to-year basis, man. But I mean, that also goes into the fact of, like, stacking consistent seasons is difficult. We mentioned earlier, Stanford ran the 2010s for the first part of it. The second part of the 2010s, Stanford was a bottom dweller.
And right now
in the Pac-12, right? Like right now, which is weird because from like 2009 to 2015, Stanford was like one of the programs in the country. It was total full-on Revenge of the Nerds kind of stuff when Shave Scove was running around the field. What a great throwback name, Shave Scove.
That is a good one.
But I mean, that's the stuff you're talking about when you're talking about how do you consistently stack it over a year-to-year basis. And ASU's running into that problem already because, holy cow, look at Texas Tech. They had 8 wins last year. They're going into the offseason tied with the best odds with like 3 other teams in the Big 12. Yeah, 3 other teams. There's 4 teams with the best odds to win this conference. So, yeah, doing that on an annual basis is going to be difficult. Utah, who has been one of the better programs in college football for the last decade, just had a down year, but they've got a chance to turn it around really quickly, or they may be in a bit of a rut for a little bit. Like U of A won 10 games 2 years ago. They didn't go bowling this year, and they're not looking much better this year. Now, of course, they did lose Jed Fish and a bunch of their other players, but that's the kind of inconsistency that we face in college football from time to time. Is nothing's guaranteed. Unless you're Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, whatever, things can change very, very quickly. So for us, yeah, we could run this for the next 10 years, or we could see 2 or 3 great seasons and then back to okay.
Yeah, and for Utah, you're like you mentioned, Utah has a chance to me to get right back to being a top 4 team in this conference. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh my god!" And all the time, people will be like, some people, and all the Big 12 hosts could do this. It's true, but like, if anyone's like, "That's crazy," I just point to Richie's team. That is all I do because I'm like, I like this Utah team right now better on paper than I did the Sun Devils at this time last year. And look what Arizona State went on.
Look what happened, right?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where this is a conference of parity, but there is an opportunity because there is not a Texas, there is not a USC in Oregon, there is not a perennial power yet. There is an power vacuum exists in this conference. Who's going to fill it? Could it be Utah? Could it be Arizona State? Yep, they have a chance to. Being a blue blood, a lot, but being a dynasty in the Big 12, that is possible. And where that starts to become a dynasty is the team that won it most recently. So that's Arizona State right now. They have a chance to build a Big 12 dynasty moving forward right now because a lot of these other teams have not won the conference consecutively very frequently. So that's what Arizona State is going to be trying to do. And this year, rather than last year, going to have to come up to Salt Lake City. And man, Richie, I still just I look back to the last time you guys made the trip out here. 55-3. I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 55
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then we jump to a year later. And that's one thing in the transfer portal era, right? Sam Levitt comes over and some other guys do too. And Kenny Dillingham gets more guys in. He's comfortable too. And boom, you guys run the entire league. So this is a very fascinating game. It was a fun game last year. The final game Cam Rising ever played in. And he was a shell of himself. And Utah, even with bad quarterback play, was still able to hang in there. Every game that Utah played in, despite bad quarterback play, they made a game or had a chance in each game in the fourth quarter. So I do feel like this is a Utah team that has a chance to bounce back. I expect us to get back to it being hard to win in Salt Lake City. It's what it's been for years. Last year, a down year because of the quarterback's position more than anything. But I think Utah has a really good chance to get ASU when they come to Salt Lake City. But the Sun Devils are not going to be easy to beat. How do you view this game a few months out from it?
I think it's time we renew that rivalry because I feel like it's been pretty one-sided over recent years. I mean, the best example I can give is the 2021 season where ASU had a pretty commandable lead and then second half rolls around and I guess we didn't show up and get out of the locker room because Utah stormed right back to win that game. Like ASU has just not had a good grip on that rivalry in quite some time. And there was a period where that was a really good rivalry between those two. It was a slugfest and it created a rivalry because I know I sat down with you many a times and it's been like, hey, how come ASU fans hate Utah so much? And I'm like, I'm not one of them. Like, I respect Utah. Like, I have fun. And now that I'm more into it, I'm like, wow, this is a bigger rivalry than I realized. So we need that renewed. And I am excited for this year because ASU has a target on their back from the entirety of the conference. But you know that Utah is also looking at them because they're like, hey, don't forget we're a rival for you. Like, we know you're riding high right now, but don't forget that we played every year in the Pac-12. Like, we're still here. So I think that this is a really good opportunity for this rivalry to reestablish itself big time this upcoming season because it just hasn't been a rivalry in a handful of years. Utah has handled it. And then last year, ASU, it was a tough game, but in a not disparaging way, not a lot of ASU fans or people in the national media go back to the ASU Utah game.
No,
it's ASU and Kansas State. It's ASU and BYU. It's ASU and Texas. It's ASU and Iowa State. No one really looks to that game. And and I feel pretty confident in speaking for Utes fans that they're kind of like, hey, what the hell? We were here first.
Yeah.
So I want to see that rivalry get reignited because that is a heated, physical 1970s football kind of rivalry. That is punch you in the mouth kind of football.
It is, and it's the kind we both love. And thankfully, Cam Scadaboo won't be a part of it for Utah fans. I can speak for them as well, saying we wish you best of luck with the New York Giants, Cam. But looking at this game, Richie, I look at, Devin Dampier, a tremendous athlete, really good offensive line. Utah should have some questions about the interior, but the tackle tandem is electric that Utah has. And then you got
2 first rounders.
Yeah, and then you got a lot of skill position. The running backs you like, mainly Wayshawn Parker. Wide receivers that are very unknown, but this is a team where the strength should be the run game, and you ask the receivers to do a little bit. Utah defense, I think the offense makes a huge leap forward. I think the defense takes a baby step back, but it's still a Utah defense. I trust the coaching there. I think they'll be really good. What's your quick view of this ASU roster right now, and how likely are they to repeat?
I think they're as likely to repeat as any other program in the country in their respective conference. I mean, you're returning so many great players, not good players, great players. You're returning the second most production of any team in college football, only behind Clemson, who, as of June 2nd of me and you recording this, that's one of my top teams to win a national championship. And it's because of how much continuity is returning. Now, I'm not saying ASU is a favorite by any means, but I do think that it gives ASU a huge advantage over a ton of teams, and you're returning like NFL players. Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson alone, quarterback receiver duo, are being talked about each as first round caliber players. There's terrific players on the defensive side of the football. CJ Fight in the trenches, Xavion Alford at safety. You got a really good corner duo with Keith Abney and Javen Robinson. There's all sorts of weapons in the backfield. Kanya Udo is coming in from Army. There's a lot that's going on with this team. And you're replacing some important players. Cam Scadaboo, irreplaceable. He's gone. You lose Caleb McCullough, the linebacker who intercepted Utah twice. Not just a good game there. He was one of your best players over the stretch of the season. Shamari Simmons, your stud safety. There are guys that are losing, but there's so much that's returning to this team, and everyone is so bought in, and they didn't lose much. You look at their transfer portal losses, and it's guys who were second string at best. And then you listen to like Sam Levitt talk about the program, and he was like, yeah, it was an easy decision to come back. Because Sam was asked, like, hey, man, you were offered some money to leave. You and Jordan. He was like, well, tell me if this sounds crazy. He said, what's a few $100,000 when you're being prepared to go to the NFL? Like, are you correct? Yes. I focus on the first part. What's a few $100,000? I don't know, Sam. That sounds pretty good to me. I would love a few $100,000.
Yeah.
But, it's the grand scheme of things where Sam Levitt and the rest of the team understand, like, hey, there's something special going on here. We have a huge opportunity to really turn into something special. And that's why so much is coming back. And the coaching staff's back too. Kenny Dillingham's back. They gave extensions to offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo and defensive coordinator Brian Ward. Everything's back. And it's a good team. Now, you have to beat the Cinderella allegations because those are going to be there until further notice. But if you were going to do it, this is a perfect opportunity with a NFL quarterback, an NFL receiver, and several other next level players. If it's the NFL or the CFL or the UFO or whatever, there are very talented players on both sides of the football who will continue playing football after their time is done in Tempe.
I think the Sun Devils team is as likely as anyone to win the conference. And the only thing I would caution everyone listening to this who is an Arizona State fan is I said that about Utah last year. And one of those teams, we don't know who it's going to be. One of the ones at the top, one's going to fall off. I don't think it's going to be ASU. I think ASU will be in it, but it's very tough to repeat. Utah was able to, you mentioned Utah, like, hey, they did that 21 and 22. They broke through both years, proved like, hey, we're a legit program, not a flash in the pan. This ASU team has a great chance to do that this year. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can do so. October 11th is when the Sun Devils will make the trip out to Utah. And no matter what happens, as we already covered, it's going to be a lot different than the last time that game was played in Salt Lake City. We can't wait for it. We can't wait for the college football season. Richie, thank you so much for making the time to come on, man. Make sure you guys head over and give Richie a follow. Your X account was there earlier on our little thingy. It disappeared. So remind everyone where that's at.
You can find me on Twitter at Richie Brads. That's with a Z. 36.
There you go. And make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Sun Devils. If you're a Arizona State fan, come on over to Locked On Utes as well. We cover your teams every single day, even during the offseason and football. 2 months away from getting close to the start of fall camp. So should be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys keep up with our programs each and every day. That's going to do it for this crossover episode. For Richie Bradshaw and J.T. Wistrcill, thank you for tuning into a Locked On Utes and Locked On Sun Devils crossover. We'll see you tomorrow.